Hi, welcome back to Spiritual Compass with me, Gary Guerrier. Today we have an amazing guest for you today, the wonderful Dr. Ann Peterson. Welcome, Ann.
Thank you so much for having me, Gary. This is very exciting.
Great. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I am a therapist of now at this point over 50 years.
Oh my God, amazing.
I almost can't believe it myself. We tend to leave the profession much earlier than now, but I've enjoyed it tremendously. I'm pretty much semi-retired, but I still see people, and I absolutely love it.
Especially in today's weather and temperature. I mean, a lot more people can use the help.
Desperately need it. They say that 75% of the population is suffering from PTSD as a result of COVID. So, yes.
Right. What I'd like to talk today about is worry and doubt. I got a lot of comments that people wanted to talk about that. It seems to affect a lot of people. What would you say would be the best way to combat that?
Well, I would have to say that as far as I'm concerned, there's a very big spiritual aspect of worrying.
Oh,
because in my opinion, and what I've observed over the years, it's really tied to anxiety. And anxiety is a lack of faith, in my opinion, because you're thinking about what the future holds rather than being in the moment.
Which is really the hardest thing to do when you're future thinking.
Exactly. There's a great expression, when you're in the future, you rob yourself of the joy of the moment.
Exactly.
And a lot of people, way more than you can imagine, are afflicted with anxiety, which is worrying about things that haven't happened. And here's the deal. It does no good to worry, because you can't change anything. You have to deal with whatever comes down the pike at the time. So I have a favorite expression that I share with my clients and have done over the years, and even in fact share with myself. And that is, fear is a lack of faith. God, give me faith.
Interesting.
And
I like that
like to
perspective.
pair therapy with a spiritual program, because I think the two segue very nicely together.
Fair.
And people benefit from working on having faith in themselves and knowing that they can handle whatever comes along.
Right.
If they just stay in the moment. And when whatever it is that is going to be a problem, if there even is one, because as my aunt who had diabetes and died at 36 told me before she died, 95% of the things I worried about never came to pass.
Right.
And the one that I wasn't dealing with took me down.
Oh, wow. What a great advice.
Yeah. So if you're worrying about what purpose does it serve? Half the time, whatever it is you're worrying about changes, and you can't foresee or control people, places, or things.
Right.
So you have to kind of see what comes down the pike, and at that moment, it's better to just find a solution.
Do you think it differs for men and women? Maybe the topics do, but do you think therapeutically it differs?
No, I think we're born as children, and we're either this is a very old concept, but we have a prototypic response to life, which means our birth sets up how we respond to life. And
Right.
we either respond with anxiety or we respond with depression. And so those of us, myself included, who respond with anxiety, it's kind of a metronome that's set up in your body. And when presented with fearful things,
Right.
your response is to become anxious and start trying to fix it and anticipate and solve the problem. But it's hopeless, because the problem is ever changing and you can't predict
Right.
in the final analysis what the problem is really going to be, because it goes through so many different changes
Right.
that you have to adapt in that moment.
Do you think we get it from it being taught to us because
Yes.
my mom was a worry body,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And I feel like it was instilled in me.
Yes. Definitely.
So it comes from
Definitely.
your upbringing.
Yes. Would you describe yourself, now I'm sure you've evolved now over time, but is that your basic nature? You have a worrywart side to you?
Well, I used to because of, being brought up into it, right?
Yeah.
Always being scared of the other shoe falling off and always being scared of what's going to happen,
Yes.
getting a phone call and just immediately going to the worst as
Yes.
opposed to like changing the perspective.
Yes, exactly. Yes, I think that is very true. And I certainly was raised in that, parents who had gone through the Depression.
Right.
And, oh my God, the sky is falling. And, so they transmit that to you. We're little absorptions by osmosis. We live in this culture, this environment, and we take on certain characteristics and not others. So I think it's a combination of how we were born, whether we were born anxious or born, giving more of a giving up, depressed state. And then we find that those messages from our parents are laid over our own already temperament, and it becomes very unpleasant.
Right. I talk in my book about every kid being a sponge. And what we do is we collect in our sponge, right? Mm-hmm. But as a kid, you don't know how to squeeze out that sponge. So all you keep doing is just absorbing.
Right.
And it becomes like a heavy sponge.
Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
we have no way of squeezing that sponge and getting it out till
Yes.
you try to find a way to grow from that.
Find the tools.
And find the tools.
And, I believe for me and for a lot of people that I've worked with, I try to give them tools to deal with that anxiety. And there is getting exercise, going
Right.
for a nice walk to burn off the energy.
Right.
I believe very strongly in a spiritual program where you, as I said before, my little mantra is, fear is a lack of faith. God,
Right.
give me faith. Have some little things you can hang on to in the moment
Right.
when you're really...
And of course, you're talking of a higher power and
Exactly.
not any specific religion, but
Right.
of your own understanding, whatever it is to you, but having a higher power that could absolve all of
Exactly.
that worry.
Yes, that helps you in that moment that you can turn to turn it over and have faith that
It'll work out.
It'll all work out, and you actually have what you need to take care of anything that comes your way. Because that's really what the fear is, isn't it? That I'm going to be presented with something that I'm absolutely out of control and have no way of solving. And that's just
Right.
not true. I mean, we're all here upright, living a good life.
Right.
So,
Right.
the other part of that is being able to discern what is fact and what is feeling.
Ah, right. Facts
Because
or
there's a
feelings.
lot of this that is actually not a fact. We're in overwhelmed with feeling, and we can't discern. Wait a second. What does my past tell me, or my current life tell me?
Right.
I actually am capable of dealing what comes my way. My first response, I speak for myself, might be complete hysteria.
Right.
But then I settle down and go, okay, now what do I need to do? And I try to communicate that to the people
Right.
I've worked with.
Right.
What is the facts of your life? What does
Right.
it tell you? You've never been on the street, or you've never been overwhelmed with something. You've
Right.
been in a feeling about it, but a feeling is not a fact.
Right. So what would be a really good tool to get to that pause? Because I think a lot of people, it's that inability to get to that pause to think about it.
Yeah, well, I think when that, because it comes as a physical manifestation.
Okay.
Your heart starts pounding, you're rushing, your head is like, I think at that moment, you need to stop, look, and listen. And listen to the inner self that really has all the answers for you, that inner voice that says, okay, slow down, take a deep breath, assess the situation, try to establish what is reality in this moment and what is the feeling, and being able to separate them and take a moment to pause and reflect.
I love that.
But the physical things should be the trigger to set in motion that process of stop, look, listen, slow down.
I love that. I call it POP, right?
Okay.
Pause, observe, and process.
There you go.
You know, so we have to get to that POP.
Exactly. Even better. That's
love that.
even better, because that's a great thing. Things that you can hang on to in the moment that are simple, short, and sweet like that are great.
And help you get to the resolve.
Yeah, where you just initiate that behavior, and then the good thing comes as a result of that.
That is just incredible. I have to tell you, Dr. Peterson, it was a pleasure having you here today and talking about it. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to come.
My pleasure. Always,
you
Gary.
so
You're the
much.
best. You offer so much, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Okay, until next time, right? We'll see you later.